Hey y'all, it's Nikki. I have to tell you about Tecovas boots. I finally have a pair and they're handmade, high quality, stylish, and comfortable. I even got them customized with leather stamping. The folks at Tecovas will help you find just the right pair. So swing by for yours at the Tecovas flagship on South Congress or their store at the Domain. Plus, good news, they just opened a new store in Georgetown at 709 Main Street for those of y'all that live a little further north. So come shop with me at Tecovas. That's TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all. Every other year, when the Texas legislature meets, lawmakers seem to tighten the laws around reproductive health, even though the majority of Texans support access to abortion. So what all changed this go round? And how will these new bills affect Austinites? We find out today on CityCast Austin. It's Monday, June 16th. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hello, I am here with Lucy Arvayo, Executive Director of Jane's Due Process. Hi, Lucy. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Nikki. So excited to be here today.
In previous years, abortion bills have been a huge focus of legislative sessions. And so in retrospect, how would you sum up what this year's legislature did to reproductive health in Texas?
Yeah, abortion was still very much a priority in this legislative session. And I think there is a common misconception, especially when we're talking about total abortion ban states like Texas, that anti-abortion, lawmakers cannot do any additional harm for abortion seekers in those states. And what, they have proved through this most recent legislative session is that is not true. Anti-abortion extremists are not going to stop until they have successfully banned abortion everywhere for everybody, including the ability for people to travel to different states to get that care. So we've seen that in real time with the most recent legislative session and what they attempted to do and some of the bills that they were able to successfully pass.
Okay, so this past Texas legislative session, lawmakers claimed they were focusing on making pregnancy safer for people in Texas. Do you think they succeeded?
No. Texas has one of the highest maternal mortality and morbidity rates in the country. And this disparity is especially stark for the Black women of Texas, but it impacts all pregnant people. Sepsis rates are skyrocketing. We've seen that demonstrated because pregnant Texans are being subjected to dangerous delays in care as a result of these abortion bans. And it's also important to note that this public health crisis is entirely manufactured by the anti-abortion extremists in Texas, who, while pretending to be pro-life, have done nothing to actually support the health of the pregnant people of Texas. And, we've seen an attempt by the legislature to correct their manufactured public health crisis in SB 31. But for the abortion advocacy community, we know that it falls far short and is what we call the exceptions deception bill.
They say they aim to clarify that doctors can give pregnant people care to save their lives, which sounds like a good thing, but it is completely deceptive because who is making that decision?
It's politicians, patting themselves on the back for doing nothing to solve a public health crisis that they helped to manufacture. And the issue with SB 31, if you back up a little bit and look at who was the progenitor of the bill, Brian Hughes, who was one of the, original introducers of the bill, was also the manufacturer of SB 8 and a lot of the other harmful abortion bans in the state. The original iteration of SB 31 also included language that could potentially be used to criminalize pregnant people and the helpers that support them.
I'm curious, what, if anything, are you hearing from Austin area doctors about how the state legislation is affecting the way they operate?
We worked with Texas physicians. For example, the venerable, incredible Dr. Moyetti from Pegasus Health Justice Center, who used to be able to provide abortions within the state of Texas, but is no longer able to do so, who has described just the deep heartbreak that it comes with being a physician and not being able to provide the care that is best for your patient because of the whims of politicians. I mean, you have to put yourselves in the shoes of a physician that has gone through 8+ years of medical training. They have taken their Hippocratic oath. They want to serve their community. And in the same breath, they're having to watch their patients be subjected to sepsis, to excruciating pain, because they can't make the medical decision that they know is best for their patient. It also just makes doing their job really confusing. They're threatened with, massive fines, losing their license, jail time. And
Right.
so rather than thinking through or being given the freedom to think through what is best for their patient, they are then having to have in the back of their head, am I going to be arrested? Am I going to be criminalized? Am I going to be the physician that Ken Paxton wants to make an example of? And that obviously does not do any good for the doctor-patient relationship, the trust they're trying to build, or ultimately the life of the patient.
That's the thing that really sticks out for me too, because I think for a lot of doctors, they're like, I don't care about my license. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Right.
care about putting my license on the line. This is a matter of whether or not I could go to jail, which is.
Right, right, which is very scary.
And I also think about all of the other. So I am someone that in my life has had to have a DNC, right? So we're talking about semantics right now.
Right.
So I was lucky enough to where when I needed it, I could get it, and it was it's and there are plenty of people that need miscarriage health that the way that they are wording things, the way that they're playing with wording. This is about life. This is about this. This is about that. But no, the sheer range of healthcare that this is affecting. This is so much bigger than, the thing that they say it's about.
A DNC is miscarriage care, is abortion care, that when we're
Yeah.
talking about banning a procedure from a medical standpoint that is provided in multiple instances, you can't make that fine line in law between providing miscarriage care and abortion care when the care is the same for pregnant people.
Exactly. It's still healthcare for people.
Right.
Anyways, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. One bill that was defeated, Senate Bill 2880, this also blew my damn mind. Like, that would have allowed private citizens to sue parties like Jane's Due Process,
Right.
who help people get abortion pills. How big of a win was this defeat?
So, I think especially for abortion advocates that have, gone through this ledge session, it's really difficult to feel victorious, even though we had some really incredible advocacy wins, like the failure of 2880, because we know that, again, anti-abortion extremists are not stopping. They might continue to push this bill in a special session or push for this bill under the guise of being pro-life. When it was originally introduced, the bill was way more expansive than what ended up being heard on the floor, right? It originally attempted to target tech companies, free speech really related to any kind of abortion support and online information.
What?
It would have made it a felony to reimburse abortion costs. It would have restricted Texans' ability to access essential care. What we ended up getting is what you mentioned, right? It's, civil lawsuits for against private citizens for quote unquote aiding and abetting abortion. The really egregious part of SB 2880, though, is its attempt to extend the jurisdiction of Texas law into other states. And so even Texans could not travel to Colorado to get their medication.
I mean, oh my gosh. It's the audacity for me. It's the audacity that you think that you can govern other states. Why are we even having these conversations about something so ridiculous?
Your reaction was the same reaction of truly most everyday Texans. Because I think in ordinary circumstances, when you hear something like that, you immediately understand that that is not at all the precedent that this country has established for hundreds
At
of years.
all.
It recognizes, the jurisdictional differences between states and upholds that. But what these anti-abortion extremists are trying to do with the state of Texas is use it as a testing ground to see how much will people accept to give up some of their constitutional precedent if we talk about it within the
Wow.
context of abortion. And thankfully, they weren't successful.
Another bill to pass, Senate Bill 33, it bans local governments from using public funds for abortion access. The city of Austin awarded Jane's Due Process like $30,000 late last year from their Reproductive Justice Fund. So I'm curious, what will this ban mean for Jane's Due Process operations and future funding from the city?
When SB 33 was originally introduced, it attempted to limit funding of any kind for an organization that does any kind of practical support work.
Oh
So that
my
would mean
God.
that if SB 33 passed the way it was originally written, Jane's due process would be ineligible for any local funding of any kind because of the practical support work we do. But thankfully, we were able to get the ledge to come to more of a compromise, which is we are prohibited from receiving that practical support funding from the city of Austin, which was such an important, resource that the city of Austin had allocated for their citizens. The reality of what it means to get abortion care right now as a person in Texas, more than 35,000 patients traveled from Texas to other states for abortions in 2023.
Wow.
Our average disbursement per client is $1,500. So you're talking about people that very often are having to choose between providing basic necessities like food, rent, housing, or traveling to get their abortion care. And so while it's unfortunate that we're not going to be able to get that practical support funding from the city of Austin, after SB 33 is promulgated, we will still be able to get funding for our other programming. So we can still work and do plan to work with city governments to fund access to Plan B, birth control, text lines and hotlines, and various services provided outside of abortion care and practical support.
So I want to make sure that I am picking up what you're putting down. So how much has Jane's due process received from the city of Austin, like overall?
So we've had several contracts with the city of Austin. Before we had a practical support fund with the city of Austin, we've received funding for our birth control text line and talk line. And then they decided to create the practical support fund, and then it lapsed for a year. And then we were able to reestablish the practical support fund. So don't have the numbers on the full breadth of all of the contracts, but within the most recent contracts have received over $100,000 from the city of Austin.
And so for anyone that's listening that has questions, can you just tell me what that money has helped Jane's due process accomplish?
Absolutely. So together with our partners at Fund Texas Choice, we have utilized tens of thousands of dollars just this year in 2025, and it's only June, to help Travis County residents leave the state for care. And when we're talking about practical support, right? So this is zero tax dollars going to the abortion procedure itself. That is not at all what the city of Austin funding is used for. It only goes towards things like food, lodging, travel, and childcare. And those are the practical support pieces that folks don't often think about when it comes to traveling for abortion care. A lot of our clients between Fund Texas Choice and Jane's due process are already parents. They work. A majority of our clients at Jane's due process are currently seniors in high school. So they're having to take time off of school, take time off of work, make up for lost wages, coordinate traveling hundreds of miles away from their home, finding childcare, making sure they have a hotel, covering their food while they're there. So these funds have enabled us to help over 100 Travis County residents get that care that otherwise would be inaccessible for them.
Thank you, first of all, for explaining that. A lot of the rhetoric that we hear is that organizations are, throwing teenagers in their cars and driving them across state lines and, taxpayers are funding abortions. You know what I mean? This is for practical care. If I'm a senior in high school, if I think about myself as a senior in high school, I had a job, I had a bunch of activities. I was worried about what I was going to do after college, like if I was going to be able to go to college. Helping you feel like you're not alone is invaluable.
Right. And I think people have misconceptions when they think about the clients that JDP serves because we work with young people and people have their own idea of what that might look like. A lot of our young clients under the age of 18 are already parents. And so what they're being told by the state of Texas is they have full medical decision making over their own child, but not their body.
Exactly.
So while they're being granted that medical decision making for their another body that they give birth to, they aren't granted that same autonomy over their own body. Vast majority of our clients do have, strong caregiver and parental support. If we are working with a client that needs additional support, it's very often folks that are in abusive situations, have experienced rape or incest, or are having to navigate, what does it mean to be a ward of the state? And those
Yeah.
individuals, if not for the support of organizations like Jane's Due Process that can help navigate that, what support are we saying that they have? Who are they supposed to turn to?
Okay, y'all, A Little Slice of Broadway Heaven is coming to Zach Theater, and I gotta say, this show is one of my favorites. Run, do not walk to get your tickets for Waitress. It's a hit musical about second chances and the courage to start over. It's inspired by Adrienne Shelley's film and features music by powerhouse Sarah Bareilles. This story follows Jenna, a small-town waitress and pie maker extraordinaire, as she mixes heartbreak, hope, and humor into her own recipe for a fresh start. It's all about finding joy in unexpected places. Doesn't that sound good right now? It's warm, witty, and filled with heart. Seriously, y'all, it's so good. You got to see it. So don't miss this feel-good Broadway favorite that's as sweet as pie. Waitress is on stage now. Tickets at zachtheater.org. That's ZACH theater.org. Just off the Texas coast sits a unique beach town marked with salty vibes and sun-soaked memories. Port Aransas is a place where family traditions unfold naturally, and beauty lies both in island views and the unhurried moments between adventures. It's a place where multiple generations can get together under one roof to share slow beachfront mornings and cool Gulf breeze evenings. An island escape with 18 miles of shoreline to cast your line, kayak with the kids, or simply cruise the coast in a golf cart. One visit, and you'll see why generations of Texans have anchored their traditions to the island life. Start your new favorite family tradition in Port Aransas, Texas. Go to visitportaransas.com and plan your visit to Austin's beach.
This episode is sponsored by Babbel. Have you ever picked a vacation spot based on where you won't need a phrase book? With Babbel, the language barrier no longer has to hold you back. You can start speaking a new language with confidence thanks to Babbel's conversation-based techniques, which quickly teach you useful words and phrases about the things you actually talk about in the real world. Babbel has more than a dozen languages available for you to learn at your own pace, with material tailored to your individual proficiency level, interests, and time availability. I'm David Plotz, CEO of CityCast, and I've been learning Spanish with Babbel. What I really love about learning Spanish with Babbel is that it works with me where I am. The app and the website keep track of what I've learned. They help me review what I probably forgot from last time, and always is keeping me engaged with a new challenge based on actual conversations I might have in Spain or Mexico or Colombia, especially food conversations because I love food conversations. So get talking with Babbel. I want you to learn another language, so I'm teaming up with Babbel to give you 55% off subscriptions, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/CityCast, spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
So historically, Austin has been thought of as this like blueberry and tomato soup, like, with a little blue speck in a deep red state. From where you sit, is Austin still a safe haven for those seeking abortion-related help and support?
I think Austinites are incredibly privileged to have local leaders. For example, City Councilwoman Vanessa Fuentes, who are very unapologetically in support of the reproductive health care of Austinites.
Yeah.
I think it is so important when a city like Austin, and we're seeing it in San Antonio too, sends out the strong message that we are here to support you and not partner with agencies that seek to criminalize you when it comes to your abortion care. I think it would be false to say, right, that folks in Austin are completely insulated from the actions of the state when it comes to criminalizing abortion care. folks in Austin are going to have a hard time getting emergency abortion care because they aren't insulated from what the state has done to make that so. It is going to take action from the federal government, from our state government, to really make sure that all of Texas is a safe place for pregnant people.
Where does Jane's due process fit into the broader reproductive justice landscape in Texas right now?
Yeah, so, we're very proud at Jane's Due Process to be not only the only abortion fund in Texas, but the only abortion fund in the country that solely focuses on helping minors.
Whoa, I did not know that.
Yes, and it really is
That's
because
incredible.
of the recognition of the specific barriers that young people face when we're talking about not just abortion care, but the full spectrum of reproductive health care. Young people are often denied rights when they're pregnant and giving birth. They often have difficulty accessing comprehensive sex education. They have, specific restrictions when it comes to even accessing emergency contraception and contraception in general. We solely focus on ensuring that we're supporting young people, providing information and direct resources and support for young people seeking abortion care, for young people looking to continue their pregnancy, for young people that are seeking contraception, for young people that want information on sex education, and for young people that want to engage in the legislative advocacy process to make sure that their voices are heard. So we really see ourselves as this one-stop shop for young people in Texas to really get information about the full spectrum of their rights when it comes to reproductive health care.
Texas has always been, when it comes to sex education specifically, sexual health, sex education, it's always been focused on abstinence instead of education. And so it just feels like it's this machine that's meant to keep the same thing perpetually happening. If you don't allow access and education in school, then you sometimes, that can result in teen pregnancy. And then you don't allow abortion. It's like you don't educate, that sometimes allows, that makes room for misinformation. Misinformation can lead to health scares. It can lead to pregnancy. It can lead to miscarriages. It can lead to so many things when we do not make it a point to invest in education around sexual health, around sexual autonomy, around body autonomy. It just feels like the state is in a perpetual cycle. And it starts when we're really, really young. I remember when I took sex ed, they had boys on one side, girls on the other. It was so silly. It pissed my mom off, actually. My mom is a nurse, and she was like, what is happening? So it feels like this state is in this, I keep saying it, we're just in a cycle.
And I, very similar to you, born and raised in Austin, Texas. My football coach taught our health program.
Exactly. Yes.
From what I know, it has not changed a lot, right? I also am somebody that as a young person needed abortion care. We used to be an abstinence-only state, so schools were only permitted to talk about abstinence. Now we're abstinence first, but, hasn't functionally moved very much. What you're being told as a young person is don't have sex. And if you do have sex, they demonize you for the options you might take. And if you do choose to continue pregnancy, you're demonized as a teen parent, and your government is still actively trying to cut the support and social services that would help you to build a sustainable life for your child. So it's hard not to feel like the government is not working against you as a young person that wants to be sexually active but does not want to get pregnant. And so that's why with our Sex Talks program at Jane's Due Process, we break it all down of, from an anatomical perspective, scientifically, medically accurate perspective, pleasure, consent, in a way that is appropriate and engaging for young people, because arming folks with information is the best way to break the wheel.
I mean, Lucy, listen, I was taught how to drive and about sex by the same person. And I just remember, I'm just like, I don't understand what's happening.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't understand what's happening. Why is the same person teaching me how to drive and parallel park and also telling me about sex? This doesn't make sense.
As usual.
So if you could speak directly to lawmakers or voters, your choice, what would you want them to know?
I think first and foremost, right, that abortion bans take lives, that there is no such thing as being pro-life and anti-abortion. There, is a difference between having a moral objection to abortion personally and imposing that will on everybody through governmental procedures that then leads to the identifiable loss of life. And so to really, one, divorce your thinking from, being against abortion makes you pro-life. Pro-life means supporting pregnant people. It means supporting families. And so if what you want is to, see less abortion in the state of Texas, what you need is family supports. Banning abortion is never going to make that happen. But if you create environments where people are not struggling for money, struggling to make ends meet, struggling to find housing, in incredible debt from medical care, from student loans, then you are going to see people actually wanting to start families. And then also, fighting this impetus to use young people as your litmus test for what abortion bans are possible for everyone everywhere. We've seen that in, SB 2352, which was another bill in this leg session that attempted to ban practical support for minors without parental consent. And again, I think it's that fallacy of when you get into the line of thinking that, some restrictions are reasonable for a certain subset of people, you leave the door open for extremists to then weaponize that against everybody, everywhere. So really, again, like making sure we're not putting communities of people, including young people, up on the chopping block and, living your values, your actual values, if what you say you are is pro-life.
And that's on that. That's how we're going to finish it. Lucy, thank you very much.
Of course.
Thank you for being here and talking to me about this. I appreciate your time.
I say it often, but they can pry this work from my cold, dead hands. We're not going anywhere. So I appreciate you, Nikki. Thank you for talking to us. And I hope to see you soon.
That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find links to Jane's due process in our show notes. If you enjoy the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.